Hello, and welcome to Neural Synchrony, building a conscious connection to your intuition. Intuition is an accessible resource in every moment of our day. We're all intuitive, but how do we know what our intuition is telling us? By recognizing the question our intuition is answering. It really is as simple as that, but it's very difficult as well because sometimes we don't know what the question is that we have received an answer to. So what I'd like to do is to start with the premise that we are all intuitive. If you need to look in a mirror and say, "I am intuitive," do it. And continue to say those words, that phrase to you until you begin to believe that you're intuitive. That's the easy part. The difficult part is listening to our intuition when it is about us. Because I'm going to tell you that when I connect to my intuition, when another person is involved, it's easy. I might be having an intuitive conversation with another person or facilitating a Neural Synchrony session. I seldom have difficulties asking questions that awaken intuition in another person, in my client. And then together we discover the answers that propel us on the intuitive way. Together we discover the question that our intuition is asking us. But what really happens when we use intuition to guide ourselves? Part of the problem is that we're personally invested with getting the right answer. We might receive a lot of clues, but we can't quite figure out what they're trying to tell us unless we're objective or what I call being in neutral. We might come up with the wrong conclusion and make choices not based on our intuition. It's based upon what we want to see or hear or do. So how can we avoid this pitfall? A Taoist would recommend that we hold intuitive messages like water in the palm of our hand. If you haven't tried to hold water in the palm of your hand, do so. Because sometimes, no matter how often or how you hold it, the water is going to come out. But if you're calm and comfortable and hold that hand just right, a little bit of water will remain in. But you have to be calm. You have to be not so concerned about holding water. You have to be objective about the fact that water comes and goes. If we hold the water gently, it runs out, but the movement is slower. We have a greater awareness of how that water is rolling out of our palm. And that's what I want to say to you. When you hold your intuition like water in the palm of your hand, you have a greater awareness of what your intuition is saying to you. When we hold our intuition like water in the palm of our hand, our relationship with intuition changes. Instead of grasping tightly onto a message and wanting the answer to be what we want it to be and risk misinterpreting it, we hold the intuitive knowledge gently. Even if we don't quite understand it, we know that eventually we'll make sense of it. That's the key. Don't rush your interpretation of your intuitive clues. Give your intuition time to unfurl. And sometimes that time takes a lot of patience. So you might be asking now, how does that work? I'm going to share a personal example of what happened to me earlier this week. I was driving down the road and I saw this largish black bird just sitting on the side of the street. And we're talking largish. It was probably, I don't know, 15 pounds or so. It was a pretty large bird. I was surprised when I looked at it because it was a vulture. And it has been, gosh, probably 12 or 15 years that I have actually seen a vulture on the side of the road. Usually I see them soaring in the sky, riding the thermals. So when I got home, I researched the meaning of a vulture. What does it mean when you see a vulture in your life? So one of the things that struck me when I was reading about it was that vultures talk about endings and beginnings. In the endings, there is a degree of suffering and grief. So I listened to how I was deciphering what a vulture meant, but I really wasn't sure how to translate it into my life situation. So I put it aside and I thought, okay, I'm going to figure this out sooner or later. So again, I'm driving down the road the next day, and I saw another vulture on the side of the street. This time, the vulture was picking at something on the road. So I got home and I said, okay, this vulture is not going to wait for me to figure out what it means. It's telling me I need to do this sooner rather than later. So I dug deeper into the meaning of a vulture. And what I found out was that a vulture heralds the return to your true self. Rescue is imminent. But the vulture was also a reminder to soar with grace and ease, because vultures ride on thermals. They soar with grace and ease. Again, I felt a new beginning was imminent in my life, but I still felt like I was missing something. I lacked the intuitive clarity to proceed. So, day 3, I have coffee with a friend. And we talked about things intuitive, and so I just happened to mention to her my vulture sightings. She got really excited, and she told me that she had seen 3 or 4 that day. And so I was curious about how she would interpret those vultures showing up. And so a part of me said, Vanessa, don't share with her until she shares with you. And one of the things that she said that what she's noticed is that vultures eat the trash. They eat the garbage. They eat dead things that are laying on the side of the road. They are the cleaning crew. And that was my aha moment. I gained clarity about the vultures in my life. What I remembered was in my programs, I often tell participants about compost and the need for us to have compost in our lives, that we really need that compost to work into the soil of our life in order to nurture the soil and to have growth. So I remembered that, and when I brought the idea of compost together with the vultures, the intuitive message made sense to me. The question that my intuitive messages or my intuition was answering was not about moving into the new, even though I wanted to move into the new and have this wonderful transformation. The question was what I needed to do in preparation for the new beginning that was going to happen. And that was to acknowledge the stuff that no longer serves me in my life. It also asked me to grieve the letting go and to be compassionate as to how I suffer. So it was about really grieving and practicing self-compassion. So as you see, it took 3 days for me to figure out what that meant. But I will tell you, some days we understand immediately what our intuition is telling us. Other times we need to hold the information like water in the palm of our hand. We must be patient until the question we need to ask surfaces. And that often comes after we receive the intuitive messages. So if you take nothing away from this, I'd like to really remind you that all of us can access our intuition. It takes practice and the ability to be gentle enough to hold intuition like water in the palm of our hand. I want to thank you for watching this video. Like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with your friends. If you have questions, let me know. If you're ready for a neural synchrony facilitation where I can engage my vision, share my vision to engage your wisdom, please let me know. Contact me to schedule one. More information at www.neural-synchrony.com. That's www.neural-synchrony.com. Have a terrific day.